What's up, guys? Horror Man, back for another review. So this year is the 50th anniversary of the original Jaws movie, which is my favorite movie of all time. So I wanted to celebrate a little bit with some reviews. So yeah, I'm going to basically do 3 different reviews of the recent NECA Toys figures. So we're going to get the Quint Ultimate action figure, the Hooper Ultimate action figure, and then the Game of Jaws, which is basically the Jaws that's basically in scale with this line. So just starting off here with the Quint figure, you get a really good image of Quint. Not quite a photo, but pretty close. But yeah, you get that signature look of him on the boat. It says Jaws 50th with this really cool shark fin, and then you can see the anniversary underneath that. It just says Ultimate Quint action figure. Over to the back of the box, you see several images of Quint highlighting some of the accessories that he comes with, and at the bottom it does give you a description as well as some different Jaws logos and other things. You get this same image and logos on both sides. You get this really cool image of Jaws on the top, and that just says Jaws Ultimate Quint action figure. You do get some different logos, UPC code, and all the people responsible at the bottom for this action figure. And it's also worth noting that Stern Pinball is actually who supplied the image of Quint on the front of the box. Alright, and then once you open up the front of the box, you have that flap with the Velcro, and you can see a really cool image of Quint. And then you have, of course, Quint clearly displayed inside the box with all the different accessories included. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the first head sculpt. NECA tends to throw these really cool backgrounds in with some of their figures. This one is no different. You do get this really cool little pier scene with some of the background of Martha's Vineyard, and I really like that they put that in with this figure. Alright, so taking a look at Quint here in his classic hat, basically his regular boating attire. This is a really good likeness. I'm very, very happy with this one. Now, they previously did this figure, it's like a retro scale line, which is like their 8-inch line. And that second release especially was extremely good. So I'm sure they used some of the same sculpts, if not all of them, for this figure. And I'm glad they did, because it really does come across as very accurate to the movie. And overall, I really like the likeness on here. Just another quick angle of Quint here, and he really has some personality. Just very, very cool, very accurate. I think they've done a really nice job with the hair, especially the sideburns kind of into the beard, and just the little parts kind of coming underneath the hat. Just really good detail, and you can even see some different creasing and kind of age to the hat. And the hat itself is kind of bent a little bit in the front of the bill, so it does kind of give you different looks for each different profile. But yeah, overall, really great likeness here. Just a quick shot of the back of his head. Again, you can see some really good details in the hat, the leather, and the stitching, and the hair itself just looks really good. Now, you do get 3 different head sculpts for Quint, which is awesome, so you can really kind of get the different looks of him as the movie goes on. So this is your basic like boating Quint, which would be like kind of your neutral head sculpt. Then you got this kind of like drunk, happy Quint, you know, in the cabin kind of telling stories. Just really good here. And then you also get his like final look, which he has his like bandana on, which is his like, you know, like I said, it's kind of his final battle look where he really means business. He's trying to save them all. So I like that you do get those 3 different head sculpts. Alright, so if you want to pop that head sculpt off, you can definitely do that. Just go ahead and give it a little bit of pressure, not too bad. And then we can just put this new head sculpt on here. And yeah, just a little bit of pressure goes on there very easily. Alright, and here is that kind of smiling or like drunk Quint head sculpt. And this is pretty funny. I think it'll be good for some toy photography and stuff. Definitely not going to be the head sculpt that I personally am going to display him with, but I am definitely going to have some fun with some photos. But yeah, he definitely has that drunk kind of look. You know, he's very sarcastic in the movie, kind of like gets on Hooper a lot just because of his age and the fact that he's rich and everything. So this is definitely a good face to probably display with Hooper, kind of just messing around with him. But overall, it is a really good head sculpt anyway. I especially like this angle of his face. He just looks really drunk. Like his eyes especially, it's really funny. Like I think they did a good job with it, just kind of capturing Robert Shaw's kind of charm and just goofiness. He actually did get drunk in part of the movie, which I don't even think they showed any of it. But I know he tried to kind of get a little too into character at times, kind of bit him in the butt. But it definitely reflects the character and the actor, so I think they did a really good job. And he is balding, in case you didn't know, so once the hat's off, you can kind of see that bald spot. Alright, and here is the third and final head sculpt, and this is going to be the one with the headband or like do-rag. Now I think these head sculpts, like the lower part of the face, look almost the same, maybe slightly different, but of course you can see the top of his head on this one. But it's really close between these two, which one's my favorite. I really like both looks, but yeah, he looks really good with this one, same good detail that you saw with that hat head sculpt, but of course you could see this hairline kind of peeking through there, just over top that bandana, so looks really good, and I do like the pattern. Here's a nice profile shot of the head sculpt. Again, the bandana looks really good. I love how they got the pattern in there. All the rest of the details look great. Again, very similar to that first head sculpt, but of course you can see the hair. You can see the bald spot going a little bit in the back. So you get a little bit more details than you did with the hat. Quick shot of the back, and of course you can see that bald spot on there, and you can see the bandana is tied off in the back. And again, really nice texture in the hair, really nice details, how it's kind of, you know, underneath of the bandana a bit. So yeah, overall, really good head sculpt here. Definitely going to be a toss-up between, you know, which one I'm personally going to be displaying it with, because again, I really like this hat head sculpt as well. Taking a look at the details in the torso, this looks really good. So you basically have this boating jacket, which is kind of like looks like an army surplus jacket, kind of a thinner material, but he does have a military background, so it makes sense that he would be wearing this. It does have a little Quint name badge on there, which is really cool. You do get a couple different breast pockets and then lower pockets, just some different wrinkling and age of the jacket itself, which looks really good. Now the hands that are on him inside the box, I can't remember exactly which ones come on him because I've already kind of swapped some things around. But you do get like a bare-handed set of hands, and you get those for the right and left. And then you also get a gloved set, which is really cool. So if you want to have him with his fishing gloves on or off, you have that option. But really good detail, nice wrinkling. I like the buttons, nice different layers going on with his dress shirt or button-down shirt, and also his jacket. So overall, looks really nice. Over to the back of the figure, you do get some details, not quite as much, but you can see that kind of like waistband for the jacket. It seems to be like an adjustable piece. Some different seams for the jacket as well, but it all looks really good. You still have some wrinkling going in there, and just some like kind of like some aging with some different wash with the paint for the jacket. And then finally down to the legs. Pretty basic details, just some dark pants with some different wrinkles and, you know, a little bit of detail. You do get his classic Doc shoes with his white strings. You do have some peg holes on the bottom of the feet, as well as the NECA and Universal logo. And in the back of the legs also have some different wrinkling as well. So taking a look at Quint's articulation here, and I'm just going to do this with the jacket on. So the head can rotate really good. And then he can actually look down pretty good, look up, and of course you can get a little bit of character going on here. His head sculpt definitely stays on better than Hooper. Actually, the arms do too. The Quint's just really a bit more solid with his interchangeable head and arms. But he can get that T-pose really well. Arms go down about that far. Jacket flares out just a little bit. No double hinge, but you do get a pretty good range on the elbow. And then of course you can move them left and right. The wrist on him and Hooper are pretty much the same. No real different. You can move at the torso pretty good, but because all this stuff he's got on, it's not quite as good as Hooper, but he could still move a decent amount. Not much up and down. Split about that far. Again, you know, the jacket kind of gets in the way, and so does this under shirt. About that far with the legs, with the knee. Not much range on the feet, just like Hooper. A little bit of movement, not a whole lot, but yeah, overall I definitely think that he stands better, his parts interchange better than Hooper. Overall, Quint's a pretty good figure, no real complaints. So taking a look at the accessories, and I'm sorry I gotta leave these in the tray, they're just too small to really show without them falling all over the place. You do get his baseball bat, and he actually crushes the communication system with that. You get his famous machete, which you see him slash into the boat, and of course into Jaws himself. And then you also get these really cool Narragansett cans. You get the one can that's not crushed, just like a new can of beer, and then you get the crushed can, of course. You do get the famous rifle, and I assume this is the rifle that took Jaws out, which is kind of interesting. He comes with this, because they did make a Brody figure. I'm sure that Brody would have came with this rifle, but it is cool that they already, you know, kind of sculpted that, so just kind of threw that in there. You also get the gun that he more famously uses, which is the harpoon gun. And I'll show all these accessories in his hand so you get to see him a little bit closer. Aside from the accessories, you also get a little tray of interchangeable parts. First and foremost, you do have 6 different hands. You'll notice that some are gloves, some are not gloves, so that will give you the different looks of, like, you know, the regular Quint and then the kind of fishing glove version of Quint. And you can kind of switch it out. You know, you could have the gloved hands with the jacket or gloved hands without the jacket, because you actually get these interchangeable sleeves. So that will allow you to take that jacket off. And we'll go ahead and look at how you do that right now. Alright, so in order to change the arms, you're definitely going to have to pull on these arms a little bit here. So I'll try to get those off, and you can see it's a very big peg. So then take the other one. Got that one off. And then you can see you can just kind of slip this right off. And just make sure you have the right arms on here. Push the new ones in. Again, just line up the peg. Just line up the peg here. Alright. And then you have the new arms. And then you can also maybe put those gloved hands on him. So just connect the new hand, and everything pops out really nice. Pretty happy with how everything's working on old Quint. Alright, and then voila. There is your Quint without the jacket. I want to just take a quick look at this shirt, and I do think they've done a pretty good job with it. I mean, you could really see the different wrinkles going on here, and I think they've done a pretty good job matching the sleeves to the shirt. You can see there's a little bit more wear on it, and the paint feels a little dry, you know, like it's more of a dry brush on there, pretty heavy dry brush, but it does look really good, and it gets the point across of that, you know, Jacketless Quint. You can see how the seams line up really nice on there. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy that they, you know, actually were able to give us 2 different looks for him here. Here he is with the machete and the gloved hands. And I do remember him holding the machete in his left hand, because that's where he actually picks it up from that boat and just kind of like sticks it in the right side of Jaws' face. But he does look pretty cool holding that, especially with that bandana on. Here he is with the harpoon gun. You see I have him kind of loading the harpoon with those gloves on. Here he is holding the bat and getting ready to smash the only communication system and lifeline between the outside world that would actually save their life. Here he is holding the non-crushed Narragansett beer can. And I think this is hilarious. I mean, he looks like he's just getting ready to finish off a case of beer. Really cool. Kudos to NECA for actually getting the Narragansett labels on the cans this time. And here he is crushing one of the cans, just like that famous scene in the movie on the boat. The only thing missing is the beer foam in his mustache. For the first comparison, here's Quint next to the Matt Hooper figure, which is also made by NECA Toys, and we'll take a look at him in the next Jaws review. But yeah, I promise you they'll get along better in your collection than they did on the movie set, or in the movie itself. So, but no, they look really good next to each other. I do like that Quint is obviously taller than Hooper, but man, they just look so good. Just really happy with both these figures. The likenesses are just outstanding. Here he is with the Game of Jaws version of the Jaws shark, also made by NECA Toys. Now this isn't exactly how big Jaws would be next to Quint. He would definitely be bigger, so it's not quite a 25-foot shark. However, it definitely is in scale with what a great white would look like next to a person. So it is still a big shark. And you can't really tell exactly, but they kind of shortened up the shark more at the tail. So it is still a pretty damn big shark. So I do like seeing him next to Quint, and you only have so much space on your shelf. So I think this does the trick, and I'm really happy with how these look together. Here he is next to the retro version of Quint, also made by NECA Toys, and this is the Quint Shark Battle version of the figure. And you can see he's wearing pretty much the same exact thing as the 7-inch scale figure is wearing, minus the gloves. But it is cool to see these next to each other. Now this is the original version of the retro figure. The second version of this is much better. I've been meaning to pick up that figure as well, but I haven't got around to it. But you can see the cans are included. Now the one thing about these, it says NECA Gets It instead of Narragansett. So really cool that we got the Narragansett can with this one. But yeah, I can't say enough. I'm just really happy that they made Quint in their traditional 7-inch scale as opposed to the retro. I love the retro, don't get me wrong, but I have so much more stuff in this 7-inch scale, so it's just perfect for a horror collection. Here he is next to another machete-wielding maniac. You have Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 3, and then you have the Casey Jones from TMNT 1990. And these guys do scale really well with each other, and these are both also made by NECA Toys. And for the final comparison, here he is with another one that got away. You have the Creature from the Black Lagoon, also made by Universal Pictures, part of the NECA Toys Universal Monsters action figure line. And he looks really cool next to the Creature. I could definitely see these in some really fun photos together. Alright, so that's my review of the Ultimate Quint action figure made by NECA Toys. And overall, I am really happy with this figure. The head sculpts, especially 2 out of the 3, are awesome. I'm not as big on the one without the hat or the bandana and like the kind of laughing head sculpt. It is funny, but it's not my favorite. I definitely like the hat head sculpt the best, and then of course the bandana version. But man, both the likenesses on those are so damn good. And I just overall really love this figure. It's really well made, the head sculpts interchange well, the arms stay on really nice, and I do like the transition between the arms and the jacket. I think there's a really nice detail done with that paint. I think they did a really good job. But overall, just really good. The accessories, like having the actual Narragansett beer cans in there, is such a big thing to me, so it's really hard to complain about this release. And really no fault of this figure, but the only real complaint I have is that we won't get a Chief Brody to go with these two, which is a crying shame, because these are such great figures, especially for the 50th. Man, I just would love to put Chief Brody in here. But yeah, man, great figure overall, highly recommend it. Make sure to check out my other Jaws reviews. I'll have one on Hooper, and then also one on the Game of Jaws. So thanks for watching my review. If you like this review, leave a like. If you have a comment or question, go ahead and leave that in the comments section below. And until next time, guys, see ya.